Hello everybody, I'm Maxi. Welcome to a new video. I know that many of my viewers are just starting to learn Mandarin or considering learning it. This episode is for you. I guess the most frightening part of Mandarin for beginners is the characters, right? There are so many of them and so complicated. So many lines, so many angles, so many directions, and they look so random sometimes. This must feel so confusing for beginners when you don't know any inside logic of it. That's what I felt when I tried Hindi briefly. Okay, in today's episode, I'm gonna explain some fundamental logic of how these characters are constructed and how we as native speakers learn them when we were little. Hope this can make you start easier. Okay, now let's get started. Okay, so first, on the fundamental level, there is this thing called stroke. In Mandarin, we say 笔画. English translates it to stroke. Every line, every curve you see in a character is a stroke. There seems to be a never-ending spectrum of them. Some are this long, some are this long, some are this long, some are tilting by this angle, some by this angle, some by this angle, some are even curvy. But on the fundamental level, there are just 7 of them. Okay, these are the 7 basic strokes. Sorry for my handwriting, I haven't been written for a long time. So the first one is called 点. By principle, it's a dot, but we write them as a short line. It either runs in this direction or in this direction. The second one, 横, the horizontal line, is usually longer. The third one, 竖, the vertical line. And then 撇, it's a subtle curve running from the top right side to the bottom left side. And then 捺, another subtle curve running from the top left side to the bottom right side. And then 提, this is a straight line running from the bottom left side to the top right side. And in some fonts, usually the handwritten ones, you'll notice it becomes thinner at the top right side. And the last one is 钩, not the vertical line, only the last part, this little one. 钩 means hook. A 钩 always appears at the end of another stroke, like this one. See? These are the basic 7 strokes. Okay, now you know how to describe them. On the basic level, there are just these 7 of them. Sometimes you see seemingly more complicated strokes that are hard to identify, but all of them can be broken down into these 7. For example, let's look at these 2 characters, 乙, which is a special way to say 2, and 风, which is wind. You can see the lower part of 乙 looks like an unconventional stroke. It has this curve here that's hard to identify. Your Mandarin teacher may tell you that this is a single unique stroke and may even tell you a name of it. But basically, you can just remember it as a 撇 plus a 横 and ends with a 钩. And then you can remind yourself the 撇 and the 横 are connected by a little curve. So whether you know it as a single unique stroke with a unique name or not does not affect how you remember this character, as long as you know how to describe the fundamental strokes. And then for 风, the first stroke is like this. Is this a 竖 or a 撇? Actually, it's a 竖 plus a 撇. They are connected together. That's why it's running like this. This again can be taught as a single advanced stroke with a new name, but fundamentally it's just a 竖 plus a 撇, and they are connected. So fundamentally, all the characters are constructed by these 7 basic strokes, and there are only 8 directions for them to go. Yes, you see all kinds of different tilting and curving in more complicated characters, but those are just for aesthetic purpose or for convenience. By principle, there are only 8 directions to remember. Okay, the second part, let's talk about the components of the characters. Many more complicated characters may look overwhelming to beginners, but in fact, all of them can be broken down into smaller components, and you will see a same component reappearing in different characters. And many components by themselves are already simpler, easier characters. For example, let's look at this character, 意. This one means meaning, intent. It's actually a 音 plus a 心. 音 means sound or voice. 心 means heart. So together you can see this as the sound or voice of heart from heart, and that's what you mean, that's what you intend. So they together become 意, meaning intent. And then yin itself again can be broken down into simpler characters. It's 力 plus 日. 力 means stand, make something stand, and 日 means sun. So 力 plus 日 becomes yin. And this one doesn't make any sense in my opinion. That's the problem with the Chinese characters. Sometimes they make sense, sometimes they don't. But anyway, that's how they are constructed. Simpler characters can come together to form more complicated characters. And once you know enough components, once you can name them, it becomes easy to recognize new complicated characters. Well, not all components are simpler characters. Some of them are what we call 部首. English translates it to radical. For example, let's see these characters. You can see the left side of them are all the same, right? This 3-stroke radical. This specific one is called 三点水. Yes, all of them have their unique names, but I won't burden you with this, and they don't really affect how you remember all these characters. Anyway, this one is called 三点水, and it means this character is related to water, or some aspect of water, some quality related to water. Components like this are not characters by themselves, but they are even simpler than the simple characters, so it's even easier to remember. So this is how we were first taught the characters. We were first taught the simple characters, and then we were gradually introduced to the radicals, and then we were introduced to the more complicated characters made of radicals and simpler characters. Once you can recognize and name the components, it becomes easier for you to memorize the more complicated ones, because you can automatically describe them in your mind to yourself. And once you are exposed enough to the more complicated characters step by step, it does become easier for you to recognize more complicated shapes intuitively. And another thing we native speakers do when learning characters is that we usually learn them in words, not learn them as single characters by themselves. In my memory, we were only taught the most basic, simple characters by themselves in the first stage of elementary school. And later, we were exposed to the new characters in words, and I think this is much more efficient, because simple characters usually has a lot of possible meanings, as many of you may already know, right? But when they are in specific words, the meanings are quite limited. And if you listen to native speakers speaking, when we sometimes ask which character it is when we only hear the sound, usually the answerer will say things like, oh, is that character in that word? Like it's 身体的身, not 深浅的深. So if you haven't tried this, try this. Memorize characters in words. This is much easier. Okay, that's how we learned it. And now I want to talk about how this has affected my mind. I think growing up with this mother tongue, I think my mind automatically recognizes an English word by its shape first. I mean, when I first learn a new word, I do need to spell them, but once I know them, I think I recognize them by their shapes first. And I think it's for this reason that it's very hard for me to read a word if it's written all in uppercase letters. I mean, if I see character with all the letters in lowercase or only the first character in uppercase, it looks like a character and it's easy for me to read. But if it's character with all the letters in uppercase, it looks like a different word, a whole new word, and it's very hard for me to recognize it as character. When I was still studying for my bachelor's degree, there was this foreign teacher, and one day she somehow decided to print all the material in uppercase, and she thought it's gonna make it easier for us to read. But the result was that the whole class suddenly became illiterate, and she was surprised, asking, shouldn't this be easier for you to read? No, it's not. Actually, I have been very curious about this. Is it really that our mind works differently from a native speaker of an alphabetic language like English or Spanish? If any of you have had a similar experience, please share in the comments. If you want to object, please also share. You are welcome to debate here. Okay, these are what I want to share about how to remember all these Chinese characters. Well, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It is complicated, it is a lot. It needs repetitive exposure to memorize. And let me take this chance to advertise my channel a little bit. If you need materials to expose yourself in Mandarin, go check out my channel. I have this comprehensible input series where you can expose yourself in naturally spoken Chinese. And I also have this membership program where I now regularly post many trivial knowledges about Mandarin. Currently, there is this series called Mandarin Micro, where I explain things like slang, idiom, and memes. It's a perfect material for you to learn characters in words. Anyway, I'm designing the content of this channel to be concise, digestible, biteful. I don't want to make them into stressful long course. I want my audience here to be able to casually absorb things. And if that's what you need, give it a try. Okay, that is today's video. Thank you all for watching this far. If you like this video, if you like what I do, please like, hype, share, comment, or join my membership to support me financially. Anyway, thank you all again. I hope to see you in the next video or a previous video. Bye bye.